If Donald Trump is going to knowingly and willingly defy the Constitution and break the law, he should be arrested and tried for those crimes. Period, point blank, end of story.
If you read the Constitution, it says he's not, but if he says he has some different circumstances that might be able to go around the Constitution, but that's up to him. We got a long way to go before that happens. Well, I think that there's going to have to be an evaluation from President Trump's viewpoint to the Constitution. There'll be a lot of legal aspects to it. Will it happen? It's very unlikely, but don't ever close the book on President Trump.
The only thing I hate more than an unrepented fascist is a dumb, ignorant, unrepented fascist. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dollemore Daily. I'm Boston Brian, filling in for Jesse as he makes his way back from Japan. And the man you just heard is quite possibly the dumbest man ever to walk the halls of Congress, and former football coach and now Republican senator from Alabama, Tommy Tuberville, being questioned about Donald Trump's rhetoric about his third term and going on to out himself as a fascist, talking about the end arounds, the way around the Constitution. Again, I am unaware of any way around the Constitution, but that doesn't stop these morons from continuing to be sycophants, continuing with their propagandistic rhetoric and not calling out what they know to be the law. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the man that now thinks that Sharia law is the biggest threat we now face in the United States, as ICE, Border Patrol, and DHS are ripping people out of their homes, out of Home Depot parking lots, out of their places of work, out of courtrooms, out of hospitals, out of schools, and rounding them up with American citizens, I might add, almost 200 now, just because of the way they look, just because of the color of their skin, just because of what they're wearing, because of tacit permission given to them by people like Tom Homan, Stephen Miller, Donald Trump. As that's going on, this idiot, this moronic piece of shit is actually trying to get you to believe that the most prominent problem we now face in this country is Sharia law. I shit you not. Take a look.
I ruffled some feathers a few weeks ago when I came to the Senate floor to talk about what I believe is the greatest national security threat facing the United States of America: radical Islam and Sharia law.
And just to further drive home the point of just how dumb, incompetent, ignorant, and unqualified somebody like Tommy Tuberville is to serve in Congress, to serve in our government. Not only that, but to be asked questions about the Constitution, something he has absolutely no understanding of whatsoever. Here he is getting the three branches of government about as wrong as you could possibly get this. And yes, it gets worse than this. But here he is, once again, on his own accord, brought up by his own stupidity, messing up the three branches of government as a senator, as a Republican senator from Alabama. Again, when we look at the education rate in Alabama, not really confusing as to why he might get this answer wrong. But check this out.
Listen to what the former college football coach said when asked if he thought the two parties could find a way to work together in Congress.
You know, our government wasn't set up for one group to have all three of branches of government. It wasn't set up that way. Or three branches, the House, the Senate, and the executive.
Now, the three branches are, of course, the executive, the legislative, which is both the House and the Senate, and the judiciary.
So this guy, who clearly doesn't know his ass from his elbow, cannot name you to save his life the three branches of our government, is actively calling for the subversion of the Constitution in order to give Donald Trump an extra third term onto that, is now, and it gets even worse, has absolutely no idea the difference between socialism, communism, Nazism, and fascism, and is actively trying to get you to believe that his father, who he says liberated Paris, even though it was the Second Armored of the French who liberated Paris, technically, went in there to save Europe from the threat of socialism. Now, as we all know here, and anybody that's paid attention to blunt politics with our love of history and World War II knows that they were fighting against fascism and Nazism. And just because they called themselves National Socialists does not make them socialists. But again, here's Tommy Tuberville just outing himself as being, again, the dumbest man to possibly ever walk the halls of Congress. Check this out.
My dad, as you know, I said this last time, he quit school at 16, joined the Army, landed at Normandy at 18, drove a tank across Europe. He said, I've never gotten the look on the people's face in Paris when we liberated Paris from socialism and communism.
I'm honestly and truly not sure you could get any stupider than that. I mean, not only were the Nazis not socialists, but the communists, aka the Soviet Union, were actually the friends, the allies of the United States during the fight against fascism, during the fight against Nazism. And it wasn't until the end of World War II and until the Cold War started that the communists, aka the Soviet Union, became the enemy to the United States. But going back to this whole talk of Donald Trump's third term and this mealy-mouthed response that everybody on the right is giving, trying to, again, either let Donald Trump down gently or lend it some credence as to having, some sort of pathway to success, which is just even more asinine. But, along the lines of sycophantic, propagandistic morons that just lick the boot, kiss the ass of Donald Trump. Here's Mike Johnson doing his best to let Donald Trump down easily and to kind of, make it seem like he's half for it, but half against it while he knows the law, but seems like there's possibly a path, but it's also trolling the Democrats. This is kind of a longer clip that I'm going to play here, but I do think it's important that we hear this whole response from Mike Johnson, again, being asked about Donald Trump's third term, the rhetoric about his third term, and him kind of lending credence to the possibility of running for his third term. So here it is, Mike Johnson doing his best to talk out of both sides of his mouth because of the weak, ineffective wuss that he is.
Well, there is the 22nd Amendment. I spoke with the president about an hour ago. It's late in the evening in Japan. He's working around the clock, serving the American people. He doesn't stop. Talk about someone who works around the clock. And as Chairman Pfluger mentioned a moment ago, and as we've reiterated in here so many times, you're looking at the split screen because under President Trump, the Republican Party has delivered. I mean, you're talking about reducing taxes, reducing regulations, cutting fraud, waste, and abuse, ended the border crisis, ending the crime crisis, resolving conflicts, wars around the globe, and working on these amazing trade agreements. It's been a great run, but I think the president knows, and he and I have talked about the constrictions of the Constitution, as much as so many of the American people lament that. The Trump 2028 cap is one of the most popular that's ever been produced, and he has a good time with that, trolling the Democrats whose hair is on fire about the very prospect. But I do believe that we've got 3 extraordinary years ahead of us, and the 2 years of the Trump administration are going to be an incredible thing. And I don't see a way to amend the Constitution because it takes about 10 years to do that, as you all know, to allow all the states to ratify what 2/3 of the House and 3/4 of the states would approve. So I don't see the path for that, but I can tell you that we are not going to take our foot off the gas pedal.
Some very telling words there from Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, talking about how Republicans lament the writings of the Constitution and how it restricts the president to 2 terms only. This is, again, Mike Johnson trying to talk out of both sides of his mouth, talking about the 22nd Amendment, but also trying to give Donald Trump more credit and saying that he's more trolling the Democrats than is actively trying to be serious about his run. But we know better than that on the left to just take this as some sort of sick joke from Donald Trump. We've seen him use and abuse his powers before, and we have no reason to suggest that he won't do it for this exact moment as well. But that leads us to a clip here from Ruben Gallego, which is the juxtaposition from these Republican sycophantic ass kissers in Mike Johnson, in Tommy Tuberville, and in the rest of these people not actively calling out Donald Trump for his rhetoric. People like James Comer, that was on CNN, trying to do his best, defensive position for Donald Trump in order to make this seem like it's not a big deal or anything that should be, investigated. The same thing as his, $800 million crypto haul that he's got from the illegal, unrestricted crypto farming that he's been doing. But again, here's Ruben Gallego with what is the appropriate response, or should be the appropriate response from all politicians, all people that care about democracy, all people that care about the Constitution and what goes on in this country. This is how you should handle this question when being asked. And here's Ruben Gallego on CNN answering this question the exact way that you should. Here, check it out.
The president has entertained talk of him having a third term, selling Trump 2028 hats, and the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, said that he had a conversation, a private conversation with the president about the constrictions of the Constitution. How seriously do you or don't you take the possibility of the president trying to have a third term in office?
I don't take it seriously because he will, be in violation of the Constitution, and he should be arrested if he attempts to do that.
You think he should be arrested if he attempts to have a third term in any way? At what point? I mean, if he talks about it, what constitutes doing that in your view?
If he files to run for presidency and attempts to run for elections, and then circumvents and ignores the rules, I think that would be a quick decision by the Supreme Court. Then at that point, once his presidency is up, when he is, supposed to be, out of office, he's a violation of the Constitution of the United States, and he should be arrested.
All right.
In my opinion, there's really only one way to answer this question, and this is it. If Donald Trump is going to knowingly and willingly defy the Constitution and break the law, he should be arrested and tried for those crimes. Period. Point blank. End of story. No further discussion. And it's people like Tommy Tuberville, and it's people like Mike Johnson, and it's people like the rest of these mealy-mouthed morons trying to actually butter up Donald Trump and, give him some avenue in order to explore these, unconstitutional routes that he's willing to take here in order to, maintain power and his grip on authority, which is exactly what fascists and authoritarians love to do. They're doing a disservice to this country. But again, this is just openly people outing themselves as fascists, outing themselves as weak, ineffective leaders who are unable and unwilling to stand up to their dear authoritarian leader in Donald Trump, the dear Fuhrer, when they know what the rules are, when they know what the laws are, when they know damn well what the Constitution says. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more videos. Again, I'm Boston Brian, filling in for Jesse Dollemore here at the Dollemore Daily until Jesse can return home from Japan. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your patience. If you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're seeing, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and please head over to my channel, Boston Brian. I host a great podcast called Blunt Politics. I would very much appreciate if you went over there, gave me a shot, gave me a chance. It would be very much appreciated. But until next time, I'm Boston Brian. Keep fighting, get out of your seats, get into the streets, find your nearest protest, find your nearest rally, stay proud, stay loud, stay aggressive, but keep your head on a swivel out there. Make sure you're staying safe. All right, I'll see you next time. I'll catch you later. Keep kicking ass. Let's go.